"We will coup whoever we want. Deal with it." This was tweeted by Tesla CEO Elon Musk on July 25, 2020. Living in America, it is essential to be educated on the actions of our government so we can hold our leaders accountable. The U.S. has a long history of overthrowing foreign socialist governments, especially in Latin America. Their goal is to establish an authoritarian government through coup d'etat at the expense of marginalized citizens. Most recently, this was seen in Bolivia, when President Evo Morales wanted to nationalize lithium via socialism for the benefit of his people. The U.S. wanted to prevent this, however, so that they could continue to make money off of the lithium. Having previously taken classes in international relations, U.S. foreign intervention is a phenomenon I am very familiar with. So despite socialism being really good for Bolivia, the U.S. backed a coup to overthrow it in order to preserve its own wealth and power. Today, I will be breaking down what socialism is and how it is incorrectly portrayed by the U.S. I will discuss how socialism has positively impacted Bolivia, and finally, I will explain the most recent coup that happened in Bolivia and why the U.S.'s involvement was unethical. In order to understand the nuances of socialism in Bolivia, it's necessary to grasp the term's actual meaning. Socialism and communism are related, but they're not the same. Bolivia wants socialism, not communism. Sarah Pruitt breaks down these terms in her 2020 History.com article. Being educated through an American lens means that some of the information we are taught is skewed in favor of America's image or goals. Americans are taught that socialism is dangerous because it leads to communism. Communism is anarchic, meaning there is no state. It advocates for all means of production being publicly owned and the abolition of social class to achieve total equality for all. The U.S. points to nations like North Korea, China, and Russia as examples of communism to elicit fear. But these places are actually ruled by a dictatorship, not communism or socialism. All three of these countries are ruled by one authoritarian leader, which means they function under a government. But governments cannot coexist with communism because communism is anarchic. These dictator-run countries also rely on inequality, whereas communism and socialism reject inequality. Socialism typically refers to democratic socialism. Socialism allows individuals to own private property. It emphasizes a democratically run state, and it refines existing social systems to reduce inequality instead of overthrowing them, so it's not anarchic like communism. Now that we've covered the basics of socialism, let's discuss its impact in Bolivia. Socialism has proven to greatly benefit Bolivia, as explained by Anthony Fiola in his 2019 Washington Post story. Before socialism, Bolivia was considered a third world country. There was a large wealth gap that resulted in two classes, the bourgeoisie upper class and the proletariat working class. Most of the proletariat was in poverty and lived in very poor conditions. The bourgeoisie exploited the proletariat to work for really low wages. President Evo Morales implemented socialist policies to improve Bolivia's infrastructure and economy. He nationalized various profitable industries like electric companies as well as gas and oil reserves. Nationalization allows the money generated from these industries to be reinvested into the people, rather than amassed by a few select individuals. These policies also prevent powerful countries like the U.S. from exploiting Bolivia for its resources. With Morales in office, the quality of life in Bolivia skyrocketed. The poverty rate was reduced by over 15%, public transportation was installed, people no longer lived in shacks, and indoor plumbing became standard. The minimum wage was the second highest in Latin America, and a free healthcare system had been developed. Now that we've covered how socialism positively impacted Bolivia, let's talk about why the U.S. and bourgeoisie wanted to eradicate the new socialist system. Bolivia's internal growth posed a threat to the bourgeoisie and U.S. because it eliminated their economic dominance. So they came together to instigate a coup. This concept was articulated by John Coatsworth in his 2005 Harvard Review. Last year, in 2019, the U.S. backed a coup to overthrow Evo Morales. In preparation for the coup, the U.S. was funding opposition groups, coordinating with the Bolivian military and right-wing officials, and spreading false information about the legitimacy of Morales' election win. The coup officially began as violence was incited by the Bolivian military. An article written on November 11, 2019 by BBC News reported that Evo Morales was threatened repeatedly to step down. In addition, Socialist politicians were being kidnapped and their houses were being set on fire. For fear of the violence worsening and a possible assassination plot, Morales resigned and went to Mexico. Usually the goal of a coup is to place an authoritarian leader into power to create a dictatorship so that the socialist policies can be removed. In Bolivia, right-wing politician Janine Áñez replaced Morales. Her appointment eradicated any sense of democracy as the wealth gap reemerged between the bourgeoisie and proletariat. The U.S.'s upheaval of Bolivia's socialist government in favor of a dictatorship is unethical. The U.S. claims that countries with dictatorships are dangerous, but they are willing to implement dictatorships into Latin America again and again for profit, completely disregarding the well-being of Latin American citizens. Hopefully, this has provided you with a better understanding of socialism in Bolivia and why the U.S. should not intervene with peaceful foreign governments. Today, I broke down the true definition of socialism and how it is not the same as communism, despite what we learn in America. I discussed socialism's positive economic and social impacts in Bolivia. And finally, I explained the most recent coup in Bolivia and how it started because socialism threatens individual wealth. It's evident that yes, the U.S. will coup whoever they want and expect everyone else to deal with it, which is why it's so important to be educated and use your voice as an American, because there are people in other countries who can't. The U.S. was founded on democracy and freedom. It is our responsibility as Americans to uphold these values, not only for ourselves, but for everyone. Thank you.